Hello and welcome to this extra lecture video on getting started with your master's thesis. If you found this video via YouTube or someone else, this might not be very useful to you because I'm actually talking about very specific things about our university's way of doing master's thesis work, or at least getting started with it. But if you want to stick around, then just, well, fine by me, more the merrier. But if you are our student, I have collected on this video some basic instructions on how to get started with the thesis project itself. But anyway, without any further ado, let's go check the topic itself. So, the presentation here is getting started with master's thesis. Basically, I have collected over the years several questions about how the process should start, how the topic should be formulated, who will be my supervisor, what to do, and so on and so on. So on this video, I'm trying to answer to all these questions so that you can proceed with contacting the right people, and also designing your own topic if you find that the existing topic or current topics which we have right now are not something that really interests you, or you have come up with a brilliant idea on which you want to make your high-tech company or empire built upon. So basically, on this presentation, I will be talking about how to get yourself a topic, how to create a topic if you cannot come up with one, and how to contact your supervisors and where to get help for your writing process. So these things I will try to answer in this relatively short video. So hopefully you'll find this useful. And if you don't get your answers from this presentation, then you can also contact me via email and ask further instructions. Okay, in short, master's thesis. It's an academic work, academic writing task. Of course, unlike earlier works, for example, bachelor's thesis, which can be purely theoretical or just a basically technical report, with the master's thesis, we expect that you demonstrate on that work that you have learned the skills we have taught you, and you can apply these skills in some form of empirical situation, or use your skills as a researcher or master in science to solve a problem that you might have. Of course, that being said, like any other thesis work, doctoral thesis included, we don't expect, or I don't expect at least, that your master's thesis should be a monument or cathedral for displaying eternally your excellence. It's not that. It's just a proof that you have actually learned something, a proof that you have actually solved a problem and documented it in a way that you can show that this was a problem and this is the solution for that problem. Whether it's a theoretical or programming oriented task, that doesn't matter, because the only important thing is that you have set up a problem or research question and then solved how this could be approached or how this could be investigated further, and so on and so on. Of course, it is true that your master thesis, like your bachelor's thesis, will be a public document, but you shouldn't keep that much in mind when you are writing it. You are only expected to show that you can apply your skills. And of course, if your later future employer checks your master's thesis, they should see that you actually benefited from your studies and are capable of using your newfound skills on solving problems. In average, we talk about 40 to 55 pages of scientific text or scientific content. But of course, this is something that is really dependent and related to the topic you have chosen. The general idea is just to concentrate on reporting everything that is relevant to your thesis topic and your thesis work. but in average, this usually nets to about 40 or 55 pages of text. Sometimes it might go closer to 100, sometimes it might be less than 30 pages, but this heavily, of course, depends on the type of challenge or type of problem you are solving with your master's thesis work. Of course, this also means that in average, your work includes 35 or 50 references, out of which half are real references, books, journal articles, conference proceedings, other scientific white papers, sometimes even other dissertations like doctoral dissertations or such documents. But in general, 35 to 50 references is the number which naturally accumulates when you solve a problem or do background study on topic that is relevant and complex enough to be considered a master's thesis appropriate thing. Also, unlike any other courses or unlike any other thing, you can start your master's thesis work at any time. Of course, we have scheduled the master's thesis so that you are expected to do this on the spring semester of your second year of master's studies. But if you have a topic and have an opportunity to start earlier, or for example, you are working somewhere on a company which starts a interesting project, you can start at any time during your master's studies. And ideally, this means that from the day you start, you spend about 6 months of doing the work, doing the research, doing the writing tasks, and you are done with your master's thesis. Since all of you have done bachelor's thesis earlier, consider the master's thesis as something like bachelor's thesis but twice the size. This of course reflects also to the size of the problem and size of the final report and sometimes even to the amount of work. But if you consider it as a bachelor's thesis but about twice the size, then you are pretty much set mentally for the master's thesis work. Of course, this brings me to the common questions I'm trying to answer on this presentation. So basically, these are the things that are usually asked when the master's thesis topic is researched or people are starting to consider what their master's thesis topic could be. Common questions like, how do I select my topic? Or who will supervise my work? Or I'm completely stuck, can you help me getting this process started, are things that are fairly usual. On this presentation, I'm trying to answer to all of these things and explain you how the process moves forwards, and at the last part of the presentation also give you some tips, remarks and conclusions on what you can do and what you could do and what would be beneficial for your master's thesis writing process. So first of all, how do I select my topic? Or how will this process work in general? So how will the master's thesis process work? First of all of you probably know this, but there is a Moodle area for master's thesis work in software engineering, and at least on this year, it's behind that link on the presentation. So go there, and if you don't have access to that site, or you can't see on your personal Moodle pages or your Moodle courses a course named Master's Thesis, then check that you have enrolled it in SISU, and also if you haven't done that, also do that when you want to start your work. There we have a collection of information and tools which are crucial for this process. You can find, for example, the list of supervisors, the list of open topics, further instructions, template files, required tools for submitting your work, and all the other things. Also, all things related to master's thesis, like workshops or some tutorials or whatever sort of announcements related to this area, are also posted in this area, as are all the open vacancies and positions for paid projects with our research group, with university partner organizations and other places. There's also links to places like LUT Career Services, where you can find open positions, which might also include master's topics. Anyway, when you want to select your topic, go to the Moodle area. First thing you might want to do is to check out the subpage Open Thesis Topics from Industry and Academia. And this page lists all the open topics we right now have at our department. Unfortunately, keep in mind that not all topics by our research groups are paid positions. If there is no indication that this will be a paid position, it might not be. So if you are dependent on funding your studies with a job or getting a job while doing the master's thesis, you might want to check out that you are applying or requesting a paid position or paid topic from the research group. Of course, this will be usually bolded and clearly told which are paid positions and which are not. But keep in mind that not all open topics are paid positions. So if you find something that interests you and is suitable for your personal requirements, then you can simply contact the person mentioned with that topic via LUT email and ask for a meeting or discussion for the topic and how it should be done, when it should be done, and how the process moves forwards. Of course, this is not only way of doing the master's thesis work. Actually, the open thesis topics which are readily available are the option C here. You can also ask for a thesis topic from supervisors. That's simply as selecting the person who is doing something interesting or has interesting topics, or you have an idea that you might want to do a thesis on this area. So you can also contact our supervisors and ask if they would be willing to supervise your work, or if they would want to create a topic for you on this topic. But one of the best ways is always to define your own topic and propose this to our professors and other staff members who supervise master's thesis works. On these things, I will be providing more information in upcoming slides. Anyway, when you have your topic, when you have an idea on who will be supervising you, you can have a meeting with that person. And if you decide that this is a good topic, I can supervise your work, then you just start working with that person. If you have a topic, you define your own topic, or you take something that has been proposed by our staff members or something from the industry, then you can just agree with the supervisor on the next steps, and your process for getting your master's thesis work starts from there. Also, if you are contacting potential supervisors with your own topic and own ideas, it might be worthwhile to prepare a work plan which opens up your idea a bit, but I'll also come back to this a bit later. So, if you have your own topic, or if you have some idea that you want to make your master's thesis on a topic you have defined yourself, once again, go to the Moodle area for master's thesis works and check out the subpage Thesis Supervisors, or Software Engineering Thesis Supervisors. These are the people who are supervisors for master's thesis works, and this page also lists their research interests, what they are currently doing, what they have done before, on what things they have researcher expertise, and which are the areas they could help you on your thesis, master's thesis work. So check who are the most or the best candidates for your best supervisors for your topic, and then just contact them. If you define your own topic, you can always contact our LUT software engineering professors and master's thesis supervisors via LUT student email by sending them simply a message that you are interested in doing master's thesis on this topic and would like to talk about this idea and have them as a supervisor. It doesn't matter if the person is a postdoctoral researcher or a full professor, all our staff members will answer to you on this topic if you approach them via LUT student email address. Why I'm emphasizing LUT student email address is that because we have huge amounts of email, especially now that there's restrictions with the campus usage. There's also a strong tendency that personal email addresses from Gmail or whatever might end up in staff's spam folders. So they are not being rude to you, they simply never received your message. But all emails which you send from your LUT email address will reach the potential supervisor, and then they can react to that. So always use your LUT email when you are doing the first contact with the people you'd like to supervise your master's thesis work. Okay, so obviously with your own topic, there's the other problem that I cannot come up with a topic. Can you please help me? Of course, there is only so much I can give as a generalist advice, but the basic principle with the self-defined thesis topic is that it should cater to your interests. It should help you on your future career path and be something that can be realistically done. So it should be something that you can do within the 6 months that you are expected to work with the master's thesis. It should be something that interests you because the work will be large enough that it requires you to have personal interest on getting it done. This is not a sprint 100-meter dash or something like that. This is a marathon type of process. So it is important that you are personally interested in getting this thing done. Also, it should be something, or it would be beneficial if it's something that helps you in your future career path. And if you want to, for example, continue as a researcher, start your doctoral studies at some point, it also can help you towards those goals or those objectives. But in general, it cannot be emphasized enough that it should be something that caters to your interests. But so if you cannot come up with anything, so you are stuck with the blank slate, there is one very mechanical way I have been teaching on how to come up with your own topic for master's thesis work. Basically, it's listed on the slide. So you list 2 courses or main topics from courses you have had at LUT, and what interested you most, what you found interesting or good courses, what are the things that you might be interested on doing later in your life. Also, list 2 technologies or phenomena in the software industry that interest you in general. Whether it's robots or self-learning machines or testing practices or whatever it is, list 2 of these things also, so that you get a couple of ideas that interest you in general in life. This can also be hobbies or something that's actually not even from the software engineering domain or not even information technology domain, but something that could interest you enough so that you can make a career out of it. Also, list 2 companies in which you would be interested to work in. Of course, this doesn't mean that you will apply to these companies or are ever employed by these companies, or even that they exist in Finland or the place you will be moving when you graduate. But the idea is to generate a general idea on what sort of companies you would want to work in. If it's a startup, also consider what type of startups you would want to do, what your startup company would be doing. Okay, so if you are following this approach, you should have a list of 6 items. 2 courses, 2 technologies, and 2 companies. So based on that, make a combinations out of them. Create something that has at least 4 out of the 6 items and find their common denominator. What's the thing that puts all these things together? Whether it's an abstract thing or whether it's a technology or some activity, whatever it is, that's actually something that gives you an idea on what is the thing that combines all these areas of interests for you. With that topic and that domain or area, do a bit of Google Scholar or LUT-pub search to see what sort of scientific works have been done in this domain, so that you get an idea on how these things have been studied before, if there already exists something that's at least partially interesting to you, so you can do something similar in complexity. Of course, because you are expected to do your own work, it cannot be exactly the same topic, but these examples give you ideas on the types of thesis works that have been done on the areas which are interesting to you. So, with this list of things that have been done and list of interests and common denominators of your interests, create few general topics that are of similar complexity that you found from Google Scholar or LUT-pub as an earlier thesis work or so, and then see who could be the person from our department who could supervise a thesis work on this topic. And at this point, you can also you can already start to contact people or send an email to your potential supervisor to ask if they have any ideas, or if they have existing ideas, or if they would be willing to help you on generating the actual master's thesis topic from this list of ideas and concepts you are interested in working with. But anyway, this is something that you can do if you are completely stuck, because this emphasizes the fact that the topic should cater to your personal interests. Also, if you are in a situation where you can select your own topic freely, it would also be nice if it helps you in your future career path and is something that can be realistically done. You cannot perhaps assess fully the last part of it, but that's why I'm also asking you to contact the potential supervisors. They can help you on this realistic part of the self-defined topic. And also, if you are already employed and you are working somewhere, you can also take a topic from your existing job. Actually, if you have a family or if you are working full-time outside university, this is actually something that's very preferred, because this also means that you can probably or most likely spend time on working on your thesis work, and that your employment supports your thesis process and your thesis process supports your employment. If your employer offers you a topic or there is a project starting that could be expanded on your behalf also as a master's thesis work, your employer can also participate on the process itself by nominating second supervisor for your work. This person, second supervisor for your master's thesis, can be anyone who has at least master's degree or equivalent from any university, college, or such institute. And of course, you still need the LUT supervisor, but that person will be your first LUT supervisor will be your first supervisor, and your company supervisor is there to help you on the practicalities and help you, expected to help you to do the work on the work which you are doing on the employer's side. Just keep two things in mind when you are asking a topic from your employer. So master's thesis is a public document. So you need to get green light from your employer to actually make a topic out of it, because this of course means that you cannot do something that's a company secret or some new prototype which they are trying to launch within a year to take over the world or your industry area. So you have to agree with your employer that this is actually a topic you can work on. And of course, because we are talking about a public document, it means that for the grading part, you need to, at least by the time you are submitting something for grading, needs to be anonymized, meaning that it cannot have any person, product, company names or so, but we can work on the sort of anonymous case study basis, and your LUT supervisor will help you on doing this version of your work. And of course, finally, if you are working for your employer, or your employer gets to say also that this is a version which can be created and published. That this is just a good practice and good manners, but also keep in mind that everything you write on your master's thesis is something that needs to be accepted with the company who is paying for the project in which the master's thesis is done. Of course, if you get a topic from your employer or you have an interesting project that could be spun into a master's thesis topic, then you can simply find the most suitable LUT professor or thesis supervisor from the list provided by the Moodle pages, contact that person via email and get started or start discussions about this topic offered to you by your employer. Finally, if you are stuck in general with the idea that who will supervise my work, there is no wrong answer here. Everyone in our staff are capable of supervising your work. Everyone with a doctoral degree can supervise your work. If it's not perfect fit for any of our research staff, then we can also have discussions on who has previous expertise on these areas or who has most expertise on this area. So you can always contact anyone from our supervisor list, how esoteric your topic idea is, and we will then guide you towards the right person. You can contact anyone via LUT email, and we will help you to get yourself a supervisor. There is no formal, or let's say formal way of communications or formal way to approach people. Of course, it helps if you are polite with your email, and if you don't get first reply, then a few days, maybe a week later, send a reminder about it. But you should not be afraid of contacting any one of us. We are here to help you and get you started with this work. And if the initial idea of who could supervise your work isn't best fit, or we actually know someone who has done something similar in earlier projects, then we can also recommend and talk with you about who could supervise your work. But usually, if you pick someone from the Moodle area list, contact them via email, and that gets you sorted out, and you can start discussions on how to do the work itself. If you know someone from our staff who is not on that list, they can also supervise you, talk with them, and they will sort out all the necessary details. So don't worry about it. Just contact the person who you think would be the best or ideal supervisor for your work. Also, when you contact the supervisor, there's of course different styles for each supervisor and how much things they need to know beforehand, or how much things they want prepared so that they can judge or get an idea on what sort of work you are doing. So it might be worthwhile to make a separate work plan for your topic, especially if you are defining something yourself. So basically make a master's thesis work plan. This is very short introductory text. It basically gives a few items such as working title of your work, the first version of or first iteration of your research question, and supplemental research questions. So basically, what are the questions in which you want answers to answer to with this study? So basically, what are the key problems you have observed, and what are the key issues you want to answer with your work? It doesn't have to be rocket science, well, unless you are building a rocket to take pictures of the stratosphere, then it is literally rocket science, but it doesn't have to be anything very complex for the sake of complexity. Also, it would be worthwhile if you consider how you want to collect the relevant data. Do you need to do an online survey? Do you need to interview companies? Do you need to do technical testing? Do you need to do software development work or embedded programming, or have hardware, and so on and so on? Because this of course reflects to things that what we have and what we can give you, what sort of equipment we have in laboratories, how can we use the existing infrastructure, what needs to be acquired, and and how complex the work is in general, because you are doing master's thesis work, not doctoral dissertation. So we also need to see how much work or how you would collect the data for the work. Also, a short literature review, for example, by using the Google Scholar mentioned earlier. So Google, couple of research publications which have similar topic or similar domain or idea, and explain how these are related to what you are doing. You can use all this material as a basis for your actual master's thesis. Basically, this work plan will have the first couple of paragraphs of your introduction section, of your literature review section, and your research process section. And of course, separately, if you need to graduate before a certain time, and if you have some objectives you need for your future, or also that you need to graduate before a certain time, also make a schedule with this work plan so that you already agree when this work should be done. Of course, if you have the possibility, or you have in this work plan defined all these things, then it will probably be an easy sale for your supervisor. They can get the picture of your idea, can give you further instructions and further ideas, and then you can agree with the topic and the timetable itself. Of course, this work plan is not mandatory. These are all things that you need to consider at some point at the early in the master's thesis process. But if you don't have anything else than an idea, there's nothing wrong with contacting our staff with just an email saying that, hi, my name is this and that, and I would like to do a thesis work on topic X. This is all you need to send us. But if you can provide us with a further working plan, it also puts things in high gear, and it also gives us a possibility to give you more clear instructions so that your process gets started earlier. Okay, so if you have just a general idea on what type of work, or what's the topic of your work, but still don't know who would supervise your work, you are stuck with the process, you have some problem related to master's thesis work, or the topic, or the process itself, or something else, especially if you are looking for the topic, it's also possible to talk with the head of your major program, meaning that if you are software engineering major, you should contact me. If you are digital transformation major, you should contact Associate Professor Najmul Islam. If you are from software product management and business, then send email to Associate Professor Sami Hyrynsalmi. And if you are from ICT and sustainability, the Nordic Masters program, or the new Erasmus Mundus project, or Erasmus Mundus student, then send email to Professor Jari Porras. We will help you on getting started and on all the process problems you have. And if you have some problem which is in any way related to master's thesis project, or you are after listening to this presentation and reading all the instructions in Moodle still stuck with the getting started part, then you can always, of course, contact me, Associate Professor Jussi Kasurinen, the head of degree programs in software engineering, and I will be helping you and setting you up to the right direction. But please look as a first contact for the most suitable person who could act as a supervisor on your thesis work. If you are uncertain who that might be, then talk with your head of major. And if you are doing something really esoteric, or something that's not really about your major, then you can also send email to me. Also, a couple of other things that have cropped up several times. So there are a couple of things you should know, or you should add to your first contact email, or at least discuss on your first meeting with your supervisor. So if you are a double degree student, then please indicate this in your first message to the LUT supervisor. This because the second supervisor and the second reviewer of your master's thesis work should be from your home university, and we also need to arrange those things separately. So if you are a double degree student on our master's program, then also remember to mention that when you contact your LUT supervisor. Also, if you need to graduate before a certain date for any reason whatsoever, whether it's your home university requirement or study office requirement or whatever requirement, then also indicate this in your first message. If you are a double degree student and you don't know if you have to graduate before at the end of certain semester, please double check this with your home university so that we know the actual date when you need to be done. We at LUT might not necessarily know in detail how your home university process goes, so ensure with your home university that everything in the schedule checks out also with them. Also, if you are planning doctoral studies later, whether after your master's thesis that is, it can be with us at the LUT Software Engineering or somewhere else. We don't mind, just mention about that if you want to continue directly from your master's thesis or maybe sometimes later. This is something that's very worthwhile to mention because also we can help you achieve this goal, for example, by adjusting the master's thesis topic so that it can be published also as a research paper. This is something that if we know beforehand, we can help you get the data collection process or reporting process to the certain level of requirements that then you can publish from your thesis research project a paper, and this helps you with your future doctoral studies. Also, on the flip side of the coin, if you are already working somewhere and only want to get rid of your university or program responsibilities and just get it done and graduate, this is also something that's worthwhile to mention. Because it sets the realistic requirements and it sets the needed activities to the level where the expectations for you and your supervisors are matched to each other. Also, there is a master's thesis template file for Word, and it also works in, for example, LibreOffice. So use that and always use that, because if you don't use it, you will go insane latest by when you are trying to set your thesis manuscript to the format which is acceptable by the university library. So use the template on all the reporting work. And also, of course, if you are just starting to consider what does LUT master's thesis look like, you might want to go to our library, online library, and there is a LUT-pub database which collects all our master's thesis works. So go there, check them out so that you get to see the format at the level of insight or the level of finesse and the amount of work that goes into making a master's thesis within our program. So these sort of things are helpful for you to get an idea on how much work could be expected. And of course, it is always helpful to tell your supervisor your great expectations or your future plans, especially if they are related to doctoral studies, and also if you need to graduate before a certain date, and if you are a double degree student, because these are all the information which might be clear and self-evident to you, but not us, because we don't necessarily get that information anywhere else. So to avoid unfortunate and bad surprises, please mention all these things when you are contacting our staff. So, a couple of other things. So, why isn't there any information on how master's thesis process progresses? That's because when you select your topic and you agree with your supervisor that you start to work with them, you are then basically agreeing on everything else with your supervisor. Your supervisor and you will agree on the schedules, on milestones on what happens when, for example, when you need to put in the paperwork for officially or formally reserving your thesis topic, and all these sort of things. On these things you completely agree with your supervisor. Also, the supervisors, when they agree to work with you, they are expected to help you on all issues with the thesis work for 6 months after the date you agreed on the topic. Usually, if life happens or if there's some delays or some reasons why you cannot work on the project, or if you are working in an employer-given topic that has been having difficulties, then it's of course understandable that it might sometimes take more than the 6 months, but of course you can agree with on all these things with your supervisor. If you have a reason for things, the supervisors will obviously help you beyond the 6 months, but they are expected to help you at least the next 6 months when you start. And of course, if it turns out that the process or project or the topic is completely undoable, or something happens and it's no longer possible to complete it, switching topic or even supervisors is something that can be done if you mutually agree with your original supervisor on these things. They should not be done, and these things should not be happen, but obviously, because life has a way of making things strange sometimes, then of course it's also possible, and you just need to talk and communicate with your supervisor on these things. One thing you should not do is that when this happens, you just completely disappear for 2.5 years and then reappear when someone starts to ask about your situation, because the supervisors will and can help you all these things, and you can also do some switches to the topics and how the process is done, or that you will do instead as a replacement something with our research group, which fulfills the requirements or does the data collection for some topic similar, so that you don't waste your effort on a master's thesis work that you are unable to complete because something else beyond your control happened. So always communicate with your supervisors. Also, if you are a, let's say, programming-oriented person and find writing the text laborious or problematic, or don't have that much experience in writing academic text in general, there are 2 courses on master's level which you can take while you are also doing a master's thesis work, which can help you on your process. The software engineering seminar gives you ideas on the research process and the data collection, and also examples from other people doing similar works. And the personal literature study is something that where you are doing the related research type of work, and also gives you a guide on how to actually complete this part of your work. Finally, also we have a workshop for scientific writing. But if you have done bachelor studies with us, there is a good chance that you already took this course. So unfortunately, you cannot take it second time and as a master's student. But if you didn't complete this during your bachelor studies, you can also participate to the workshop for scientific writing. And of course, finally, please remember that this video is not meant to be a list of demands or a ransom note or some manifesto for how you should behave. This is meant as a way to give you instructions so that you can get started with your project. So don't worry about it. It will go fine. Come up with a topic. I've presented you with some ideas. Contact our staff members asking if you want to ask for a potential supervisor. We are friendly people. We don't consider it a rude thing if you ask for a couple of people about their opinions and then select only one of them as your supervisor. We are in any case expected to ensure that all of you get to graduate, and of course, if we can help you on your future career, that's even better thing than just getting the master's thesis done. But anyway, this is more or less the presentation. I want to remind you that if you didn't find your answer on this presentation, or you have problems with ongoing process, or life happens, like mentioned earlier, you can always contact me via email and ask further instructions. But in any case, if you have ongoing master's thesis project, you can always contact your supervisor. They should have always time for you. They can have Teams meeting with you. They can support you. They can give you instructions. They can show you what sort of research approaches or similar works there might be to help you get started. And on all issues, good and bad, please do not hesitate to send me an email or call me on my working phone during office hours, meaning from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you. So, with this presentation, hopefully you find this helpful. Hopefully you can get started with your master's thesis work efficiently. Hopefully you'll find nice, engaging and interesting topics, and don't worry about it. Basically everyone who gets started with the master's thesis process gets their thesis work also done at some point. It's not a monument, it's not a cathedral, it's just about 40-page document describing a problem you solved, showing that you actually learned something and can apply your skills in the real world. So with these words of encouragement, thank you for listening in, and contact me, contact our staff members if you have further questions or you want to start doing your master's thesis right now. So have a nice day and thank you.